Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Now, if you enjoy content like this, make sure you smash that like button and leave me a comment down below if you have any suggestions for future videos or maybe some recipes you'd love to see me veganize. I'm super excited to share today's video with you guys. If you follow me on social media, you know I'm a huge Disney fanatic, so it's only fitting that I bring you a veganized Disneyland recipe video. Today we're going to be making the bread cones from the Cozy Cone Motel in Disneyland's California Adventures. This is a treat that I absolutely used to love before I went vegan 4 years ago, so I knew I just had to veganize it and share it with you guys. Today we're going to make the bacon mac and cheese cone, the chili cheese frito cone, and the chicken chili verde, all vegan. So let's get right into this video. So for the first part of this video, guys, I'm going to show you how I make my dough for my cozy cones. So we're just going to add some yeast, some sugar, and some warm water into a mixing bowl, and then we're going to allow that to bubble up for 5 to 10 minutes until the yeast is ready. Now, I'm doing this in my KitchenAid mixer, but that's not required. You can use a regular bowl and your hands for all of this. You can knead it by hand. You don't need a fancy mixer for any of it. So you can see here, after it's sat for 5 or 10 minutes, it'll look like this. This is exactly how you want it to look, nice and foamy on top. Then we're going to add our salt, our oil, and our flour, and then we're going to combine all of that together to form our dough. So now I'm going to put my dough hook on here, and you're going to see that I'm going to use this to mix it up, and then I'm going to allow it to start kneading. Now, if you're doing this by hand, you're just going to start mixing it with your hands and then take it out and put it on your countertop and start kneading it by hand. But if you have a mixer, you know what to do. So once it's all mixed together, you're going to allow it to knead for 5 to 7 minutes. So now that my dough is done kneading, I'm just going to take it off of the hook and take it out and see that it's nice and tacky. It doesn't stick to my hands. And then I'm going to start greasing my bowl. You can just use the same bowl. No need to dirty another bowl. Just grease that up, and then you're going to set your dough in there, and you're going to want to cover it up, and you're going to want to set it in a warm place in your kitchen and allow it to rise or double in size for about an hour. So now that your dough's had time to rise, you're just going to take the cover off, and you'll see what it looks like right here. It's doubled in size. It's ginormous. You're going to want to punch that down and punch all of the air out of there. That's a super important step if you've never made your own dough that you don't want to skip. Then you're going to put it out onto a surface, and it's time to start shaping out your dough and cut it into strips that way. I found that when I made it shorter, I had to cut 2 strips and connect them together to make my cone, and that was a little more difficult. So anyways, I did that off of camera, but I just thought I'd tell you like a little tip. If you want to make this way longer, it's way more helpful. So now that we have our dough all pressed out, I'm just going to go in with my Mickey Mouse pizza cutter, and I'm going to cut some lines. Like I said before, ultimately I ended up making this a lot longer and cutting longer strips instead of having to connect 2 of them together. So now I'm just going to show you here the cone that I made. The most important thing here is that it's flat on the bottom because you're going to be cooking this standing up. Obviously in your home you can do whatever you're comfortable with, and you can do it laying flat if you'd like, but I'm going to go ahead and do it standing up to get a nice even cook on it so that everything has an even nice golden brown look on the outside. So I just start showing you right here how I do mine. I start at the bottom at the tip of the cone and then work my way down. And it's important that you make sure all of that is sealed and that there's no cracks as you go along, because obviously you want this to be able to hold whatever food you're going to put inside of it. Now, we're going to do 3 types of fillings from Cars Land, and we're going to obviously make those veganized. But really, you can make these and fill these with anything your heart desires. I mean, any kind of soup, anything you can eat with a fork, anything you could eat on the go. These would be great for a birthday party or just a fun night with your kids if you want to do something Disney themed while we're all missing Disneyland. So then I'm just going to seal it all up, make sure there's no cracks or any places that once the dough cooks that my filling will leak out of. And then I'm going to pop it in the oven. Obviously, like I said, I'm going to stand it straight up for a nice even cook. You want to coat this with a little bit of vegan butter to give it a nice golden brown, but that's not required if you don't want to do that. Obviously, I wanted mine to look nice and beautiful for you guys. So after about 8 or 9 minutes at 450 degrees, or until golden brown, you're going to pull it out and it's ready to serve. You're going to want to make sure you remove that foil and let it cool off a little bit before you fill it, but you can just put whatever you want in there. Today we're going to veganize 3 different things that Disneyland uses to put inside of theirs. So I also want to note that you can do this with crescent rolls from the grocery store, but they're not as firm and they don't hold up as well. So you chance the fillings softening it up and then becoming soggy. So I recommend this recipe 100%. So I just wanted to insert this clip and show you guys that you could do it with the store-bought crescent rolls. It's really simple. You just lay your dough out. You're going to seal up those creases and you're going to cut out your strips and you're going to wrap it around your foil just like I did with the other recipe. And then you're going to bake it in the oven according to the directions on your packaging. And as you can see here, it turns out really great. It just gets soggy really easily and it just doesn't hold up as well. So I highly recommend making it from scratch. So now let's move on to our first recipe to fill our cones with. Okay guys, so for this first recipe, we're going to make my vegan mac and cheese. It's a super quick and easy recipe. You're just going to need a few ingredients. I have some vegan cheese, some pasta, some plant milk, some vegan sour cream, some vegan butter, some flour, some salt, and some garlic powder. So let's go ahead and get right into this recipe. So we're just going to start by boiling our noodles. You want to have your noodles ready as soon as your cheese sauce is done. So it's important to start by having your noodles boiled and ready. Then we're going to add our vegan butter into our pan. I'm doing this on a medium to medium high heat, and then we're just going to let that melt down. So now that our vegan butter is melted, we're going to add our flour, and this is just so that we can make a roux. This is going to be our thickener so that we can have a nice thick cheesy sauce for our mac and cheese. You're going to want to make sure you mix out all the clumps in this, and then we're going to cook this down for about a minute to a minute and a half. It's super important that you don't skip this step because it takes out that flour flavor so that you don't have it in the mac and cheese. But you don't want to overcook it and burn it, otherwise you'll taste that as well. So now that you've cooked off that flour flavor, you can see that it's darkened a little bit, and that's exactly where you want it. You don't want it to get any darker than that. Otherwise, you're going to taste more of a burnt flavor, and you don't want that. So now we're just going to add our plant milk, and we're going to whisk that in until it gets nice and thick. So now that our roux is nice and thick, we're going to turn the heat down from a medium high to just a medium, and then we're going to add in our vegan cheese. We're going to mix that up, and we're going to allow that to melt for just about a minute, and then we're going to add in the rest of our ingredients. So I just have some vegan sour cream, and then I'm going to add in my seasonings. I have some garlic powder and some salt, but you can add some pepper, some paprika, whatever you like in your mac and cheese, you can add that now. My kids like it pretty simple, so I'm just adding some garlic powder and some salt today because they're the ones who are going to eat this up. Now you're just going to mix that up and cook that down for about a minute until everything is well incorporated. So now that our cheese sauce is done, I turn off the burner, and then I'm going to add in my cooked noodles, and I'm just going to mix that up until everything is well incorporated and that all of those noodles are coated with that delicious cheese sauce. This is so thick and creamy. It's one of my favorite recipes. You definitely have to give it a try if you try anything in this video. So let's go ahead and fill our cozy cone. So now that we filled our cozy cone with our mac and cheese, it's time to top it off with some bacon. I'm using some bacon bits, but you can use your favorite vegan bacon of choice. And that's it for this one, guys. The vegan bacon mac and cheese cozy cone. So delicious. Okay, so for this second recipe that we're going to make to put inside of our cozy cones, we're going to make a vegan chili. And then at the end, we're going to top it off with some vegan cheese and some Fritos to make it a true, authentic chili cheese cone from the Cozy Cone Motel in California Adventures. So we're going to start off by sauteing some onions. You can use oil, but I'm going to do a dry saute, and I've showed you how to do this in previous videos. So now that our onions are done sauteing, we're going to add our vegan beef crumbles. You can use lentils or something else if you don't want to use a processed vegan meat. And then we're just going to cook those down for a couple of minutes. So now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. I have some tomato paste, some vegetable broth, some tomato sauce, some petite diced tomatoes, and then a can of rinsed and drained kidney beans. Now we're going to add our seasonings. I'm going to use some chili powder, some cumin, some cayenne pepper, and then some garlic powder, and then I'm going to add some salt and pepper as well. And then I'm going to add some maple syrup. Now you could skip this step and use another sweetener or not put a sweetener in at all, but I really feel like it enhances the flavors. Then we're going to cook this down on medium-high heat for about 25 minutes, stirring every 5 minutes. So after 25 minutes, our chili is ready, and it is time to fill up our second cozy cone. Now that we've filled our cozy cone with our vegan chili, we're going to top it off with some vegan cheese and some Fritos for a perfect crunch. So there you have it, the veganized chili cheese cozy cone from California Adventures. If anything, you have to try this chili recipe, guys. It's super delicious and one of my favorites. So let's get on to the third and final recipe to fill these cones. Okay, guys, so for my third and final recipe, I'm going to make my version of Disneyland's chicken chili verde. This is going to be so delicious in our cozy cones, and it was one of my favorite things before I went vegan 4 years ago. So let's get right into this recipe. We're going to start with some soy curls. If you're not familiar with them, they come dehydrated, so you're going to have to rehydrate those. I'm going to use some vegan chicken broth, but you can just use water or vegetable broth or whatever you prefer. I just feel like the vegan chicken broth gives it more of that chicken flavor, so it's the perfect way to rehydrate these. You're going to set them aside for about 10 minutes, and in that time, you're going to get your pan started. You're going to warm it up at a medium to high heat, and we're going to add in our salsa verde. Now, you can make your own salsa verde from scratch, but I just use jar because I like to make things quick and easy over here. So then we're just going to add some diced green chilies. I used mild ones. You could use hot if you like it a little more spicy. And then we're just going to give it all a mix, and we're going to cook it for about 1 to 2 minutes. Then we're going to take those soy curls. You're going to drain them, and then you're going to squeeze the moisture out of them. That's a super important step that you don't want to skip because you don't want soggy soy curls because then they won't have that chicken-like texture. So then we're just going to mix everything together, and then we're going to cook it without the lid on medium to high heat for about 3 minutes. Now that we've cooked it for about 3 minutes without the lid, we're going to place our lid on, and we're going to continue to cook this for about 10 to 12 minutes. So now we're going to remove our lid, and we're going to add some fresh cilantro, and then we're just going to mix that up until everything is well incorporated. So there you have it, guys. My third and final recipe, my vegan chicken chili verde that we're going to fill our last cozy cone with. This recipe is super easy to make, especially when I took that step to only use jar salsa verde. So let's fill this cozy cone. Now that we filled our cozy cone, it's time to top it off with some vegan cheese. You can make your own cojilla cheese. I just used some Follow Your Heart mozzarella. It was still delicious. My mouth is watering just watching the playback of this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed all of these recipes. You have to let me know which one you're most excited to try down in the comments below. And as always, if you make any of my recipes, don't forget to tag me on any of my social media platforms at This Is Royale on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!